Uh-huh. And explain to me how you are going to get Kevin knighted.
Well, Sir Edwin is a knight,
Right.
so he's able to knight anybody he wants, really. And that's kind of the problem with guys like this, is Sir Edwin has never distinguished himself at all in any capacity when fighting. He just has a really expensive suit of armor and a bunch of weapons, and over the course of conversing with him, you get the idea that he's been riding into quote-unquote battle on the back lines, and Kevin's job has just kind of been protecting him as his squire. So, I mean, Kevin's been scouring the mail and cleaning the weapons and tending the horses and things, but Kevin's also been doing the majority of the fighting where Edward is concerned.
So once Connor has a grasp of what's going on in the situation, he's about to open his mouth. He closes it, points to Gus and Lucius, and go, "All right,
No, no, no.
this is a you thing."
Gus holds up his hand and he says, and he gets a very angry look in his eye. And if I'm giving you the chance to stop me, Lucius, because Gus is about to say some very not friendly words to this man.
Does Lucius stop him?
Lucius is looking very intently at this guy. Lets out a breath and turns the face away from Gustavus and this charlatan.
So, to be clear, Gus, before you go off on this guy, Kevin's not in any danger here, and he has gotten some actual fighting experience, and he does have the mean to make Kevin a knight if he so intends.
Okay, well in that case, Gus is going to he's going to make sure that he takes Kevin aside and explain what's going on, and make sure that Kevin understands.
Right now, or that's something you're going to do later?
We'll do it before we leave. But yeah, I'm going to ask the knight if he wants to have a friendly sparring match.
All right, I'm out. And Connor just exits before he causes trouble. So nice to meet you.
Would you like to have a friendly sparring match to show your Kevin here some pointers? I am a bit of a fighter myself.
Edwin,
Gus
of all,
has-
Edwin gives you a great showing of gratitude, because when he first encountered Kevin, who had lost his former master in the army, his understanding is on the first wave. Sadly, of course, Sir Edwin was not able to arrive in time for that offensive. He showed up a little later. But no, if you're the man who trained Kevin in the fighting arts in Dunfoss before he came here, then he owes you a great deal of gratitude for how strong and skilled and disciplined the boy is. He stands up from his reclining chair and he kind of stumbles forward one step, and the wine sloshes forth out of his goblet. "With your leave, I would shake your hand, sir."
Okay, I'll shake his hand.
And he gives you just this limp wrist handshake. But Kevin corrects him. "Oh, Gus isn't a knight." And Edwin looks back. "So," looks you up and down. Says, "But a fighting man nonetheless, deserving of my respect. And so you shall have it. Will you drink with me, sir?"
Lucius,
my
this
one
whole time
weakness.
this whole time has been, very stoic, facing away from the two of them. But that literally gives him pause. He visibly twitches when he says that.
And Kevin corrects him again and says, "No, Gus isn't a knight."
Nevertheless, he is one of the best swordsmen I have ever had the pleasure of working with.
And Kevin agrees, of course, but he's not a sir.
I'm gonna look at Kevin and be like, Kevin, come on, man.
Is it a little because he seems to be taking this much more seriously than he would have when he left. This business of fighting men and knights and telling the difference between a man who's been distinguished and a man who hasn't. And you can tell it's fairly important to him, or has become important to him.
All right, then, Kevin. Come outside.
And Edwin gives him leave to follow you, and he does.
Put your armor on. Pick up your weapon. And come at me.
He doesn't have armor, surely. It's. I mean, he has boiled leathers that he can wear.
Oh, we sent him... I thought we sent him down here.
Yeah, no, I made him. Yeah, I made him scale mail and I think a sword and maybe a bow.
Oh, did you?
Mace.
He got the bow.
Yeah.
In that
He
case,
came
then
down
yes,
with-
he still has all that stuff, and it's still in excellent shape. And you can see where it's been repaired quite a bit. So yeah, he dons his armor for you, and he's very proud that he's... looks a little ill-fitting on him now because he's considerably taller than he was.
You think we could... Alex, you think we could, before we go, resize that for him? Because that's the kind of thing that'll get you killed.
I mean, Alex is off at the medic, but yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. It's like, I'll... It's like, that's the kind of thing that can get you killed, Kevin. I'll talk to Alex and we'll get it resized. You got to make sure that as you grow, you have to keep it, make sure it fits well. And I'll walk around and like pull the straps on and like this strap here, this strap there. And then like, all right, pick up your mace or sword or whatever weapon you're currently favoring and come at me.
So you want to fight with Kevin?
I just want to spar with him a little bit.
All right, roll initiative. You don't have to roll particularly high to beat Kevin.
8.
An 8. All right, that's... Could roll a little higher than that, I guess.
Right. I don't have Connor casting that spell on me, unfortunately.
That spell?
That spell that gives me a D8 on top of my initiative.
Man, if you can't even remember the spell name, I don't know if I'm gonna keep giving it to you.
And that's fair. That's valid.
Gift of alacrity.
Oh, nope, sorry, I already forgot it.
Okay. Yeah, he has a spear. Leaning up against the edge of the pavilion.
Before the fight, Gus is gonna take that the magic weapon out, and he's gonna turn it into like a quarterstaff,
Okay.
just so that we're kind of fighting with similar weapons.
Are you wearing your armor, your plate?
Yes, but yeah.
Okay. And he comes at you.
Okay.
I have a 10 to hit.
No.
As he comes at you with his spear, you deftly send it aside. What do you do to the poor boy?
Nothing. I'm just gonna continue to dodge and play. Like I said, this is just.
What's your turn? Is
I'm
what
just-
I'm saying.
Right. I'm.
So what's your action?
Let's see. I'm just trying to see if I have anything that will not instantly like give Kevin. So no, I'm just going to. I'm just gonna. I'm just gonna dodge.
Okay. And how long are
Just
you going to
gonna-
keep this up as he comes at you with the spear and you very
Basically,
easily step aside?
yeah, just until he either gets tired or manages to hit me.
Okay.
So basically, this is just me seeing how well he's progressed. I want to know, is he a level 1 fighter yet?
Oh, no, not even close.
Okay. How many undead army swarms do you have to survive to become a level 1 fighter?
So, I guess the question is, like, are you offering him instruction as you're doing this?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Like-
And after a moment, I mean, it's a couple of the other men start swarming around, watching the spectacle, watching the sparring. This kind of thing is very common in the camps out in the yards, especially amongst the young squires. And one of the nearby dwarves, after a couple passes back and forth, where Kevin lunges with his spear. One of the dwarves calls out, "What sport is there in playing with this lad?"
The teaching moment.
"Then teach him, by God!"
I thought it was.
And then,
Like I was.
as over the next couple of minutes, there's more and more murmuring. And the next dwarf that calls out,
I don't want to hurt him.
"If this brave teacher, or if this teacher was as brave as his skill indicates, he would have ridden north with the boy." There's murmurs of agreement amongst the crowd. How much
Gus
longer
just
do you want to go
ignores
on?
Gus
Ignore
is
them?
just. Yeah, Gus is just ignoring them. Whatever. Gus literally does not care.
Let's see how many rounds it takes for Kevin to actually get a spear on you. I have a 17 to hit.
No, you're looking for either a net. You're looking for a 21
Okay.
or a nat 20.
He
one of
doesn't
the two.
quite need a natural 20 to hit you, but... I mean, it's to the point now where a full minute has gone by.
I'll when Kevin starts to look tired, I'll just call for a stop and I'll clap him on the back and congratulate him on how well he's doing. Because and congratulate him on like surviving this far.
And one of the dwarves, one of the angry men standing around that doesn't think there's good sport in this at all, calls out, says, "Will you try me now? Perhaps I need a lesson."
Gus looks at him and raises an eyebrow and says, "Do you really want to do this?"
He really does. And he's wearing his plate armor. And he has a young dwarf as a squire, you can see, pulling on the boots. This must have been a man who saw you playing around with Kevin in the yard and decided to teach you a lesson and called his squire over. But he tells you, it's only fair, since you're wearing plate and using live steel, that he be given the same consideration.
Gus is literally carrying a quarterstaff.
Which he watched you magically transform from some other weapon.
Oh, okay.
What's an appropriate stat block to use here? I know, it's in another book that I don't have. Back here in the tunnel!
Yay for tunnel.
You still have the cloak of protection, by the way.
Oh, okay. So my AC's 22.
Yeah, and you have +1 to all saves.
I think he would have needed a natural 20 then, in order to hit that. I'm also keeping an eye on my other computer. I have my Instacart progress.
Yeah.
Because if it gets delivered and I don't see it, I'm going to have a big box of melted ice cream out there.
So what kind of weapon is he coming at me with?
Don't know yet. I haven't decided on a stat block to throw at you.
That the DM was supposed to be omniscient, omnipresent, and always prepared. You're pulling the curtain back, Rickra.
Omniscient, always omnipresent, and always prepared.
Yep.
So, you run like a D&D modern game at some points, right? Are you currently running a campaign of that right now?
Yes, but we haven't met in a little bit because of,
So I think what needs to happen is we need to crash your game and see how omnipresent and always prepared you are.
Okay, listen. One time I had a simple encounter prepared, and one of the players thought it would be a good idea to break off from the entire rest of the group and spent the entire combat running around the building. And I didn't know what to do. Like, why are you going this way? What? Why? He's right there.
Counterpoint, Treble, you play Birdie.
So yeah, his squire, after getting the armor on, strapping on his plate, hands him his greatsword. And the knight stands up and asks if he'll teach him a lesson.
What do you think, Kevin?
Kevin
You want to
is
see me fight this
huffing
man?
and puffing, and Lucius is there, and Connor
Yeah,
is there, right?
I'm there. Yeah, I'm there.
Lucius and Connor, what are your
Yeah.
what are your passive insights?
18.
Passive insight is 9.
18?
Yeah.
Connor, maybe you have a better read on the situation because you're not quite as close to it, because this is the first time you've met this kid. But you can tell that he's embarrassed by what's happening. Like, this guy who's not a knight, who didn't fight in this war, who didn't ride north, shows up and is now in the yard offering lessons to this squire who some of these dwarves know to have sat through battles, have been battle hardened. So he's embarrassed by that, but also that he's not good enough to fight Gus. Like, Gus is, after not having fought one day in this war, is showing up and, oh, you think you're a fighter? I'll show you.
No, I mean, like, I'm not trying to. Like, Gus is legitimately proud of Kevin.
Oh, I know. But Gus has also completely misread the situation.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, Gus, now this dwarf wants you to teach him a lesson. He wants to know if you're going to continue to fight with your twig or if you'd like to come at him with steel.
Gustavus is an anime protagonist in Game of Thrones.
That is such a funny sentiment. Like,
Isn't that just Ned Stark?
no, Ned Stark is like a Lord of the Rings character in Game of Thrones.
All right.
All right, so you're going to test this dwarf?
Sure. I will turn the...
He asks if you should fight to first blood.
That seems... Gus will bow and say that seems reasonable.
Mechanically, first blood means whichever character inflicts damage first is going to be the winner of the bout.
Uh-huh.
So this is a way for you to fight using live steel in a way that's probably not going to kill either of you.
Right.
He asks you if you'll be resorting to magics or other forms of trickery.
No. I will abstain from that, though it is a significant part of my style of fighting. So it would be putting me at a slight disadvantage.
He tells you are within your rights to do so. He would not want you to fight at a disadvantage. He wants to win the fight fairly.
He goes, I have no intention of, like, injuring you. You do have, this situation up here to contend with, and I would hate to even inadvertently injure you. So, like I said, it's just a friendly battle. Just a friendly bout.
Lucius and Connor, when Gus starts kind of stammering out like, oh man, I really don't want to hurt you that bad. I'd be terrible. Like, I wouldn't want to injure you. Looking around and scanning the faces of the surrounding dwarves who know this knight and have fought alongside of him, they think that's hilarious. This idea that this like dirty, soot-covered guy wandering in from the forest could injure this knight. And wagers start happening. All right, roll initiative again.
Oh, you said that you said bad things.
Like, is Lucius going to tell me to go all out, and so he can place a bet?
Lucius is probably going to get on this initiative just so he can get in on that action.
So you're going to cheat.
Not cheat so much as in I'm confident in Gustavus's abilities, so I'm looking to find a wager in favor of Gustavus.
Right, but why would that require you to roll initiative?
I mean, because...
So let me put it this way. If you're thinking you might want to take action in this combat, feel free, roll initiative.
Not in the combat itself. All I'm saying is if Lucius, if this is going to be over faster and Lucius can get a bet in, that's one thing.
No, by all means, put down your bet. How much are you willing to stake? And Gus, what did you get on initiative?
12.
Okay. Connor and Lucius, are you going to stake anything on the bout?
Oh man, it happened so fast. I was thinking about like, man, I could actually get Gift of Alacrity off on him, but I won't. I need to know how this unfolds for the time being.
Okay.
Lucius is going to put down 3 gold pieces in favor of Gustavus.
I think this will probably be decided. I'll tell the dwarf. This will probably be decided by whoever strikes first.
Well, he wins initiative, so.
Yeah.
All right. I have a 13 to hit,
No.
and a 19 to hit,
No.
and a 28 to hit.
Wow, he gets 3 attacks a round.
Sure does.
Now I couldn't even block that with shield.
Can't believe you lost me 3 gold.
Multiple people can stand up.
16 points of slashing damage. As you step in and... So, Gus, fighting in plate armor, it's not usually about dodging out of the way of attacks and moving deftly. That's the point of plate armor. It's supposed to be able to withstand certain blows. And it has. It's saved your life on many, many occasions, especially against monsters who aren't using piercing weapons specifically designed to go through plate. It's not common. You're not going to meet like a werewolf or something whose claws are going to get you through your plate armor.
Mm-hmm.
This dwarf knows exactly the place in your armor to attack, and he moves much, much faster than you would have expected. As he ducks down low to the ground with his greatsword and brings it up in a great slice across the left side of your body. And there's no mistake that he's bitten through your armor in one part. There's a shower of sparks, and there's some showmanship to it as he's making a big scene of raking his greatsword up the side of your plate armor, sending orange sparks out in front of you. And yeah, you have definitely been cut.
One of these, break the tether.
And there's
Hold up.
a lot of cheering, and Lucius has lost 3 pieces of gold.
And Gus will smile at the dwarf and bow.
Sparks?
Hmm?
Sparks.
Yeah,
Metal and metal.
Okay.
Raising.
Anime
All right.
protagonist.
The dwarf raises his visor afterwards. And he tells you that he's had enough learning for one day. And there's met with riotous laughter from amongst his companions.
All right, fine. Connor can't keep his mouth shut. Connor says, "You're a bit of a cunt, aren't you?"
A lot of the surrounding crowd finds that funny. The dwarf who just fought Gus looks back to see who called out the insult, looks you up and down, just laughs, shakes his head, ignores the comment. Calls over to his squire. Says, "Get these boots off me. Get a mug of wine for Kevin. The lad fought well." And then the spectacle dies down.
This time there's going to be clouds that we need to stand in front of.
Gus looks
Go
at
ahead.
Kevin and says, how comfortable are you with a sword these days, Kevin?
And he still looking a little ashamed of himself, and kind of glances down at his spear that he set aside. Says, "Not quite as well as with my spear. I'm sad
There's
to
no
say."
shame. Oh, there's no shame in using a spear. It's a good weapon with lots of versatility.
Well, no, it's that I thought I was better with the spear than it turns out I am.
Gustavus, can I have a word with you in private?
He goes, no, you did excellent. And Gus is going to look, yes, Lucius.
And Lucius takes that immediately, pulls him aside, says, "You're coddling the boy.
Left side.
Coddling?
Coddling him. Yes.
What, you want me to, like, beat him into unconsciousness? No.
No.
I feel like
but-
Lucius has also misread this situation.
I feel like you owe Lucius 3 gold pieces.
No. What I'm
Uh.
saying is, this young man is not being challenged. Kevin is not being challenged by what this fool of a knight has put him forward to.
I don't know, he seems to be learning okay to me. He's relatively safe, he's getting combat experience.
Exactly, that's the problem. Relatively safe. Do we live lives that are relatively safe, you and I?
No, but we're not Kevin. Kevin's not us. Let the boy do what he wants to do.
Fine.
And Gus is going to go back over to Kevin and, like, just explain to him that, like don't feel bad about not being able to hit me. Lots of things have tried, and, like, my entire fighting style is a defensive one, so, like, I'm just not a good opponent for him at this stage. But he's actually doing very well, and I'm very proud of him.
You can tell that the explanation is not sitting well with him.
And if it bothers you, then all you got to do, Kevin, all you got to do is just keep trying and get better.
Definitely not helping. What's your goal here? What are you trying to make him?
I'm not trying to make him anything. I was just trying to gauge his progress and spend some time with the boy.
Make an insight check.
Well, 15.
As you're like explaining to him over and over, like, don't worry that you weren't able to even, get one attack landing on me. Like, it's not your fault. It's just I'm that good, and I'm so much better of a fighter. But you can see in his face that's what he's hearing. But he's not saying anything because even though his feelings are hurt, he doesn't. It's still not his place to come back and rebuke you.
And I'll look at him and say, Kevin, like, I'm not saying that I'm better than you. I do have more experience, but that's something you can catch up. You're just starting, and you're doing excellent. I was where you were at some point, and, like, Gus is going to get, like, a wistful look, and he goes, and I had a...
What are Connor and Lucius doing while Gus is digging his grave here?
Oh man, I'm trying to figure out what I want Connor to do, because there is part of me that wants Connor to go start stalking that dwarf.
Stomp off after NPC dwarf I was hoping to only have to use in one scene. Would you like to go shopping for jam, sir?
Well, no, I guess I'll let Connor leave it alone though.
So, Gus, you get to the end of your explanation to Kevin.
Like, I'm legitimately not trying to make Kevin feel inferior.
Oh, doing a good job of it nonetheless.
So, like, I feel like, is this because he's a teenager, or just because, like...
As you come to the end of the explanation, and he finds a quiet point, he says, I take it you don't approve much of Sir Edwin, but he can make me a knight, can you?
And he says, I look at him and I go, not yet. I'm working on that. He goes, but you, Kevin, do what you feel is best. He goes, I'll tell him I'm behind him, whatever he does and wherever he goes in his life.
He says that he means not to disrespect you, So correct him if he's out of place. But at your age, your level of experience, should you not have been knighted long ago?
He goes, I legitimately don't know the answer to that, Brickard. He goes, well, you got to remember, I'm not from this area. Do they have like knight errants like this over in the desert?
No, not the...
Yeah, he goes, and they don't have they don't have things like that where I'm from. So
He's
who
continually
knows?
glancing back to Lucius to read Lucius's face as going through the conversation, but he says, "But I'm not from where you're from. I'm from Dunfoss."
And he goes, and that's what I told him, and that's what I'm telling you, Kevin. If this is what you think is best, I'm in support of it, and I'm here to help you if you need it.
And it's confusing to him because you can't knight him.
Evan, why is being a knight so important to you?
And he stands up and looks at Connor. Says, "I apologize, but I don't know you. I wouldn't want to speak out of turn." He looks back at Gus. He's facing you, but he's not looking at you. He's not meeting your eyes. He's looking at the ground a lot.
Evan, speak your mind.
Connor just waves his hand. It's just like, just speak your mind.
As I understand why Lucius is not a fighting man, and Connor, you are not. Alexander is an engineer, and Connor, you
The hopo?
fuck bears. What do you do? No, Connor is a woodsman by the look of him. But surely, a man who distinguishes himself in the arts of warfare in Dunfoss should be made a knight by the king or a man of the nobility or by another knight. And he looks at Gus and says, "The people you've been fighting for are not able to distinguish you. The other explanation must be that the fighting you've done is not worthy of distinguishment." And then he was right. When the call to war came, you did not ride north.
You recall correctly, I did want to come up here, but I had other obligations.
And these obligations keep you from distinguishment.
Sometimes they do. Because at the end of the day, Kevin, all the man has is, his obligations.
Do I have your leave to go?
You're a man. And just know that if you ever need help, you know where to find us.
He gathers up his spear and his goblet of wine and heads back into the pavilion.
Hey, we do have the ear of the king. If we wanted to, we could just get him make him a knight.
Possibly. So
Just throwing that out there.
what other business do you hip cats have here in camp now that you've gotten word on what Warlock's been up to and the plans for the mountain home for the future, and you've made contact with Kevin again?
Man, I really want to go after that dwarf, though. Oh.
No.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
See, what happened, Gus, was you sent Kevin north in Season 2, and then you saw him again in Season 8, played by a different actor, but you treated him like Season 2 Kevin.
He's got you there.
I was trying to be respectful of him.
Any other business in camp before you guys head south?
No.
The next morning, everybody can take the benefits of the long rest.
Long rest.
The next morning, you do receive a missive, a bound scroll sealed with Silverwolf wax, to be placed into the hands of King Tensails.
Very well.
And you're informed by her ladyship's entourage to go in peace.
And so we shall.
And it's about a 2 days ride. Assuming you're keeping a reasonable pace and not like a breakneck pace to get back to Dunfoss. Here's what you learn along the road, going south. Just conversing with travelers coming and going. There was some sort of massive magical discharge during the magical games, the last week of the year, that destroyed an entire neighborhood of Silver Bluffs. It was mostly loss of property rather than life, although there were some casualties. But Silver Bluffs, a lot of construction had to be done, and there was a lot of problems with earth sliding and sinking away. And this gargantuan explosion from this rocket launch did not help matters. So big chunks of it has fallen away into the sea. There's a big part of the outer wall that has crumbled away and fallen. And apparently, you've heard from people who have surveyed the area, there's just a big crater there where the tower once stood. The good news is, all of the treasure and magic items and things you guys could have found in that basement area have been completely incinerated.
That's par for the course for us, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I put a plus
It's like
10 Vorpal sword down there, and you guys didn't get it. Ha ha ha.
It's like you're playing a card game where you usually do heavy discard. It's like just treat those cards like they're on the bottom of your deck, and you were never going to get to them anyway.
Right. So arriving back in town after 2 days, along what sort of timeline are you looking to connect with Tensails?
I'd say probably ASAP since we got that message from.
I think that should be number 2. Number 1 should be, like we should just check in with Linda, not like take any like large amount of time. Well, we sent a note ahead. Never mind.
We did.
So you're going to ride into town and go directly to the palace?
Mm-hmm.
Are we telling the king the truth about like the map that we now have?
Yeah, that was the one thing I would like to make a duplicate of this map before we show it to the
Or
king.
at the very least,
I need a day.
make a dupe.
Yeah.
If you need
actually
a day, then
what we do is instead of that, let's send a message to the king that we're back in town, and that we would like to schedule an appointment with him in a day. Since like he is a king and we just can't like ride up on him anyway.
The other thing is he is a king, and if he wants to see us now, he will.
yeah.
So better just head to the barge, give me a day to make a duplicate of the map. I have some ideas about that. Then we'll give him the duplicate along with the message from Silverwolf.
So when you arrive at the barge, there is a group of 4 men sitting outside of your gangplank. When they see you coming down the ladder, one of them stands up, and calls, "Ahoy, Flumph Inc."
That's us.
"We were placed here to bring you to the king immediately."
Of course you were.
Well, alrighty then.
And Alex just sort of taps his head and looks at Connor.
Are you guys going with them?
Yeah.
These
Connor?
Yeah.
Can that's do you pick up on the fact that that's a sign for telepathy?
Yeah, no, I did. I did. Okay. Let's let's be super subtle about this. Cast and detect thoughts on Alexander. And I'm gonna use some meta magic goofiness.
Well, before
Do
you
it
cast
subtle.
detect thoughts,
Ooh, okay.
on the way back to the palace, as the men are conversing, 2 things that you learn that might inform his surface thoughts are, number 1, The king, actually 3 things. Number 1, the king is none too happy that half of Silver Bluffs has exploded and fallen down into the sea. Number 2, he's none too happy with you in particular, because this massive explosion just happened to coincide with your disappearance from town. And number 3 is there have been executions recently in regards to this matter. So, you may now go forward with your detect thoughts.
Yeah. Detect thoughts. Let's go.
Alex is thinking, all right, well, unless we have to give him something to keep us from getting killed, let's not tell him about the map. We'll just give that to him next week.
Is that map in
And make
your
sure
bag of holding?
everybody agrees on that.
Yeah, that's smart.
Make sure everyone knows that that's the plan, Connor, please.
Yeah.
So 2 questions that I have. First of all, is that map in your bag of holding?
Yes.
Does 10 Sails know that you have a bag of holding?
Just
I mean, I don't honestly know.
Well, let me put it this way. Unless you've been keeping it like a secret, like unless
No,
you've been taking-
I totally put the... What did I do? I put the thing in the bag of holding to test the hourglass right in front of him.
Okay, so he
Yeah,
knows
you
you have a
did
bag
do
of
that.
holding.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you recall, 10 Sails has kind of a solar area in the palace that he's kind of fitted out like a pirate-themed room where he actually has installed a wheel in the front of the room. He's had ship sails hung up along the walls, and it's a fairly nice-looking room in terms of like if this were a theme restaurant, but befitting like a lord's meeting room, a lord's sitting room inside of a great palace in an ancient city of Dunfoss. Maybe comes across as a bit cheesy. When you arrive, he's sitting there at the far end of his table with his boots up on the table, holding a goblet in his hand. You see a flagon of some kind of dark alcohol on the table in front of him. And he looks none too happy as you guys enter the room. He asks that his men close the door behind you, leaving you alone. Lucius, what's your passive perception?
18.
18. Lucius, you immediately notice something out of place that none of the others catch. There are many chairs on this long rectangular table along each side of it. He's sitting at the large, most important chair at the far end. But just to his left, on one of the chairs along the side of the table, draped along the back of it, you see a heavy cloak. This very, deeply purple color. This very rich royal color. And you recognize it as belonging to some of the higher-ups in Tylestis Apt. This is the kind of thing they would wear, especially when meeting with the king.
Okay.
And in a very angry and gruff tone of voice, he motions to the table where there is nothing set out for you. There's no food. There's nothing around. Sit. Make yourselves comfortable.
Lucius takes a seat in the seat with the cloak.
Okay.
Alex will sit opposite the table at the other end of the rectangle.
Yeah, Connor will take a seat.
Yep.
So, Flumph Inc. How's every little thing?
Well,
We have been through a lot.
Oh, have you?
Yes.
Half of my city exploded as a fireball launched into the air, leaving a column of smoke that took the better part of a day to dissipate.
well, I can assure you, sir, that the man who did that, who's responsible, is very, very dead at the moment.
And you know this how?
Because
I shot him.
Alexander shot
him.
shot his head off.
Yeah.
Just clean off. Just
Oh, I guess the last question is did you bring the 2 cultist women back with you? If so,
well,
what did you do with them?
I would have said, at any point they wanted to. That's something I meant to bring up. At any point that the 2 of them want to break off and go their own way, they were able to. We weren't forcing them to come back to Dunfoss.
Well, they definitely don't want to stay in the war camp, so they would have followed you back to Dunfoss given the opportunity.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they probably have been with us all the way to the barge then.
Safe to say you
Unless-
didn't bring them with you to the palace?
I mean, when would they have?
Was Linda at the
Could we leave
barge?
him
Could we
in
have left them there
Linda?
safely?
You could have left them there if you wanted to.
Yeah. Okay. We'd have left him with Linda at the barge for the time being.
So, yeah, he wants the whole sordid story. The man that did this, you shot him.
Well, he was his name was what? Stonkmeyer.
Stonkmeyer.
Alex will start producing the stolen Telestin Thap books one at a time out of his bag and placing them on the table.
We
I mean, that's going to
hired-
take many hours. There were a
Right,
lot of
because I can only pull one item out at a time. Every 6 seconds.
Yep.
He sees Alex
stole-
doing this, and he says, he calls out for some of his men to come back in the room. And he orders you to hand your bag off to the men. Well, first he asks, is anybody but you able to take items out of your magic bag? Or does it have to be
If they know that they're in there,
They,
you have,
yeah,
you have to ask for an item, reach in and get it.
oh, so they don't know what's in it, so they can't take it. What's out?
So he tells you...
That's the
when
way
he
a bag
asks
of
you-
holding works, right? You think about an
Yeah.
item and you pull it out? Yeah.
Yes, you can't
Yeah.
pull out an item you don't... You can't just reach in and kind of fish around for whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says he wants to see every item you're carrying in that bag. But he asks you under what circumstances he can believe that you've brought everything out and are not holding anything back from him.
How much? Gus whispers. Gus whispers. How much acid do you have left in there?
I do have a fair amount of somewhat dangerous items. Normally the bag makes handling them not tricky, but it would take me a while.
That's not the question I asked.
Unless you know of some magic that looks inside extra-dimensional spaces, you just have to
You
take my
could-
word for it.
You could get one of those candles from the black that the black jackets have.
This Flumph thing, I want to be very clear. I want there to be no misunderstanding. Over the course of the next few minutes, it's going to be very, very important that you answer the questions posed to you. He looks at Lucius.
Yeah.
Tell me that... Can you tell me, in honesty, that neither you nor any of your men had a hand in what happened in Silver Bluffs during the games?
Nothing on us. We happened to be in the area when the whole unpleasantness happened.
I have your word
I
the
was
man
wor-
responsible is dead?
Yes, we. I was working. On behalf of Telesnus Apt.
Oh, I'm aware of
these items.
Tylesnus Apt's involvement in the situation.
Lucius gestures to the pile of books that Alexander is disgorging onto the table. And
Can you show me the man's body? The man responsible.
regretfully,
We
no.
did not bring it back.
Where is it?
There's a mathematical answer to that question.
Lucius
So-
looks up to the ceiling, and he says, "The night sky. Beyond that,
Was I not clear
far
before?
beyond that, and I'm being as clear as I can to you."
On like King Ten Cells, on my honor, for real, like this crazy gnome shot the tower into the night sky. It left It left the ground, and we floated up there. And his plan was to commit to commit a slow 3-year suicide before crashing back down into the world. And we just kind of jettisoned him off of the structure, and it floated away.
Who are the two women you brought back with you to town?
Followers of his.
Followers that he convinced it would be a good idea.
His followers, and where are they now?
They are back at our barge in our secretary's care.
He calls over
They-
one of his men.
They
Collect them.
didn't.
Send them to the dungeon. The man leaves the room.
They were. I would like you, if I have any pull with you, sir, I would like you to give them a little bit of leniency because they were sad people that Stonkmeyer took advantage of and convinced
There
it
are
was a good
thousands
idea.
of angry citizens, angry and frustrated citizens who watched a large portion of their city be destroyed, to say nothing of the noblemen in the houses that were lost in the area, who have seen nobody punished for this attack.
Well, they were merely along for the ride. They didn't actually have, to our understanding, didn't actually have anything
Do they have
to do with.
Can you provide me evidence that they were kidnapped?
They were not kidnapped. They did go willingly.
They went willingly. Then they will be punished. They'll be punished very, very publicly, so that all of my angry citizens and nobles can see. My head has been pounding for weeks. What do you know of this falling star to the north? Looking at
It was
Alex now.
Oh, that was the remains of the tower. I brought it back down to Trennis.
Is there anything there that needs to be salvaged?
I don't think anything valuable survived. I didn't inspect the crash site myself, but I think we got everything we thought was valuable into this bag.
You say as you're unloading, like, cookbooks.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had a lot of free time up there, sir.
Looking back at Lucius, what can you tell me of Tylus Nasap's involvement in this situation?
Perpetrator of this crime, the real perpetrator of this crime, was a rogue member, a rogue element of Tylus Nasap.
Are any elements of Tylus Nasap not rogues?
I wasn't aware that they were considered rogues.
And he
Sir?
points his finger at your face as I called your superiors into this very room, and when I questioned them, they told me I had no authority to ask them the things I was asking.
Alex will produce Stockmeyer's thesis.
Okay.
That's one of the books.
Lucius, I can trust you, right?
And he'll hand it to
Certainly.
Lucius.
You would not betray me?
No.
And if you did, you would not begrudge me bringing down full and legal punishment upon you?
Not at all.
Even if it meant burning down your family's home on that lake and salting the earth to appease me?
Whatever I've done, whatever crime I will have committed, I would implore you that the crime is my own and not my family's.
And impatiently, he waves his hand and says, "Stand up, for God's sake."
Lucius stands up.
And he gets up from the table, pushes his chair back, and he grabs the cloak from behind your chair, lifts it up, drapes it onto your shoulder. I mean, this thing smells of cobwebs and mothballs, and it's incredibly heavy on your shoulders. Says, "Congratulations, you are now the High Grand Poobah, or whatever, of Tylus Nasap. I want a full inventory of their books, their secrets, their items, everything cataloged. Anything that is dangerous, I want it taken to a secure location. I want to know every secret every wizard in this city has uncovered for the past 1,000 years. Journey has already been set upon this task, and you will aid her in it."
Wow, that sounds like a giant undertaking there, Donkey Biscuit.
Lucius looks at
And Alex
Gustavus
actually
with
laughs at that.
with the worst look he has ever given any person in his life.
Gus just gives you the biggest shit-eating grin he could possibly give.
He looks back at Alex now.
My king, permission to destroy this man? No, I don't say that. I do not say that.
Looking back at Alex now. He asks you how long it will take before your bag is inventoried on this table.
Alex has a quick mental calculation. About an hour and a half.
Is there anything horrific I should know about before you pull it out?
There's some acid. It's generally pretty well behaved. Haven't had an incident yet. Oh boy. Alex is obviously going through the mental inventory of what he keeps in there, which means I am looking at my character sheet. Just give me 1 second.
That is a very good question, King Ten Cells, and it is also something that was on my agenda to go through with Alex, because
There's a bit of loose dragon powder. I mean, it's properly contained, but that would obviously, if not handled properly, be a little dangerous.
This is completely.
And there's a very, very deadly poison I prevented someone from using on someone else. Those are the most dangerous items in there.
This is completely unrelated, but I have watched an entire season of Hoarders this week. I pictured Alex there like, the bag's not that bad. I mean, yeah, it's cluttered, but as he's just pulling out like fast food wrappers, cardboard boxes.
I mean, okay, let's be honest. If you had an actual bag of holding, you would be driving and you'd be like, and you would throw a fast food wrapper in there.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, here's the thing. Alex can make a temporary bag of holding to throw all his fast food wrappers into and then unmake it.
I'm picturing
Like, he
Warlock
doesn't need it as a garbage disposal.
There's just, like, the Flumph barge is just, all of its garbage for the last year is literally floating off in the ethereal plane somewhere. It's just...
Warlock's Bane sitting there like, Alex, can we agree that this banana peel has no value? Can we agree right now that it's okay to let this go?
I really might need some potassium for this distillation, though.
King 10 sales.
He looks at you.
I've never, of what I have known of you and what I've interacted with you, I have never seen you this frazzled.
You heard the part where half of the city exploded.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
But you have been very calculating and cunning and very wise about everything, as well as very guarded. It's not like you.
That one was rude. I've got raised.
Guarded,
Is it-
he says, somewhat.
guarded.
Somewhat insulted. As I recall, I've let Flumph Inc. in on my closest secrets and my long-term plans.
Dogs, keep an eye on which one has the header.
And for that, your liege, you might actually be rewarded. And Alex pulls out a scroll case. This is the most accurate map of Trennis in existence. And he'll toss it to King Ten Sails.
Rolls
Oh.
his face across the table to him, and he takes it.
Connor just...
And if Connor goes into Alex's mind, Alex is thinking towards Connor, look, we could probably at least look at it afterwards, but we gotta save our own skins right now.
Tensales
I can
asks
redo a lot of it from memory.
Tensales asks if this was in possession of the cult leader.
No, I made it
No.
myself while we were above the sky.
We made it. We took extra time to do it because, well, and Gus will point at the storm.
So, yeah, he opens up the case. It takes him a minute. 'Cause remember, this thing
Yeah.
is a piece of machinery. It has to telescope out, and he opens it up, and he very carefully removes this. This is a man who treats maps with great delicacy. Rolls it out on the table, puts a weight on each corner, and within seconds, his entire demeanor changes. He becomes completely transfixed.
Alex winks at Connor as that happens.
And
Lucius looks
over the
across
course,
at Alexander.
over the course of the next few minutes, he's very quiet. He's just examining parts of it. He calls his spyglass in and goes into small details. And he indicates the storm and points to the area in the southern sea.
No answer.
It was persistent for the entire time we were up there.
Could it be magical in nature?
Likely.
Wonder if this storm is what has prevented me from finding my lost continent.
Possibly, but
Almost assuredly.
How much gold would you need to have copies of this map made?
I could do it myself with time.
He shakes his head and says, "Time I don't have. Gold I have plenty."
many
I'm not in the best graces with the Photographer's Guild, but I imagine if you were pay off about 100, you could make multiple low quality copies.
He does kind of motion with his hand, like a ritualistic up, down, left, and right, and says, "I hereby bestow upon you high honors in the Cartographer's Guild." What's the next obstacle?
I need to go and seize control of a bunch of scribes and get them working. I've got all the materials.
And on your life, this map is accurate.
If it's not accurate, it's my own eyes deceiving me and the rest of my companions, and that's...
But
if it's not accurate, it's something
it
the world
accurate?
does not wish us to see.
And he points to the other side, because you said you had done great detail of the two, like, triangles.
Yeah. And there's a cutout in the middle that shows how they interact.
And he indicates to the other side. This area is not labeled as well. What is this?
The other side of the world, Your Majesty.
So, the world is effectively a sphere, and that's the back of it.
On the other side of the Great Walls of Elements.
And looking at the other side, it's a much different shape, but it's the same basic layout. There's a large central ocean surrounded by continents that end in elemental wastelands, and there's a large portion of the ocean, this one close to that side's like large desert area, which again is just this massive storm that the whole time you were mapping it out, Alex, you never saw the storm dissipate.
So, I have a question. Were there, because I forgot to ask this because I didn't think about it, were there any, you know how you can see the Great Wall of China from space?
You can't see the Great Wall of China from space.
Thought you could.
No.
Whatever. Okay.
People think that they can, and they show pictures of this is the, but it's actually a river, usually.
Oh, okay. Whatever. Dumb question then.
No, there are no. I mean, the only like man-made objects you can see from space are lights. You can see when cities are lit up at night. You can see that from space, but obviously that's not going to be the case with Dunfoss.
Right.
I'm also checking my phone every like 30 seconds because my shopping is complete, but the delivery hasn't been made yet.
Get your ice cream cake.
Says, Alex, I'm going to leave this in your care. Anything you need, take out of the Royal Treasury. And contact me when 10 copies have been made.
I'm on it. And Alex does his best to carefully put the scroll back in the case and just walks off.
Help you. Get it in the case, because it's a little large for you.
Yeah, his entire mood has completely shifted. And now, instead of taking back his seat and pouring himself more wine, you see he's very distracted and lost in thought, and is pacing back and forth behind his chair quite a lot.
Yeah, we were up there, and I had the thought that maybe this would, make your search a little easier.
And for a certainty, it looks as though some good will have come out of this disaster.
How much of the city was actually damaged by the
So
explosion?
looking at this map here let me grab a red pen. So part of Silver Bluffs, where you launched from, so like maybe this part here, due to the launch, has broken off and just slid down into the sea. So this encompasses some of the houses, which would have belonged to members of the nobility in the area. So that was surrounding the old keep where the tower was, as well as that portion of the outer wall is just completely gone. It's just eradicated.
Does Alex want me to keep pulling books out of his bag of holding?
It looks as though 10 Sales has completely lost interest in the bag of holding.
Okay, good. Do you want me to put the books back into the bag of holding? Alex?
Alex and the bag are leaving to go press gang some scribes.
Okay.
So, Alex, you're presented with essentially a writ with the King's seal saying that, you're in charge of the Cartographer's Guild now.
Okay, I'll go. And as I said, press gang some scribes. I've also got 3 shots of animate object. which I'll be using to make tiny Fantasia quills.
Okay. Connor and Gus, because Lucius and Alex have provided some official service to the king in regards to this recent disaster. Do you offer any particular services to him?
There's not much I can think of to do,
Okay.
but he can think of something. I'm willing to lend a hand if Lucius wants me to come with him, because I bet you there's going to be some honorary wizards.
Oh, no, the ornery wizards of Tylessus have been rounded up and dungeoned, and the ones at the very top have been executed. Because there's been nobody else to punish, and it's been 3 weeks now. So, as far as the king is concerned, Tylessus App caused this explosion, because it was one of their men in that tower that rocketed off into space. They refused to give him answers or share secrets. Probably had a situation where, you can't dungeon us up, you wouldn't dare, and then he just totally did.
Yikes.
So getting a good look now on how, I mean, Gus, to you this would check out, because this is exactly how a pirate captain would run his ship. If somebody aboard his ship started mouthing off to the captain, insisting he didn't have authority, and the rest of the crew did not mutiny along with them, they would be keel-hauled, and that'd be it.
Yeah, you can't. I respect that. You can't. That's not a situation that can continue.
Tylessus App sat in an ivory tower as long as any of you people have lived in Dunfoss, for sure. Of course, putting what is Lucius, level 9, level 10? And he's not even a wizard, so, like, probably not the best long-term choice to run the joint, but Pensales is not thinking about that.
I mean,
Yeah, Lucius is like, okay.
So yeah, you all are dismissed. He seems to be placated for the time being, and at this
I think we need a moment to process all of this.
Well, yeah, what we're going to do now is go into a long period of downtime actions, basically.
All right. So once we're out of earshot of the castle and everyone and all of his guards or whatever, he just looks at the rest of the party. Cutter just looks at the rest of the party and just goes, "You guys are the worst investigators! What are you doing?"
what do you mean? We investigated an entire planet. Nobody else can say that. Nobody.
Something weird is going on with him, and I was trying to get to the bottom of it, and then you immediately gave away our trump card before we could find out what was going on.
No.
If we hadn't given away our trump card, we would be on the chopping block.
Alex gave away the trump card, and he didn't give it away. He used it to keep us from being executed.
We were not going to be executed.
You want to put some money on that, champ?
Besides, it worked out. It's fine. We were going to give it to him anyway. So what does it matter?
Besides, here's my thought. He's demanded 10 copies. Alexander arranges to have 11 made. For archival purposes, of course.
But what are you going to do? So what are we going to do about Tylessus Apt? Are we going to give them their books back? Or are you keeping them? What?
So, Lucius, your orders are to inventory everything in Tylessus Apt's care and bring it under purview of the crown. He is appropriating all of their possessions. He just wants to know, like, anything he needs to be made aware of, he wants to know about, especially anything dangerous.
Yeah. And Lucius is very kind of cagey on that idea. Like, it doesn't sit well with him. And like I said, I need to think about how Lucius would process this situation.
So,
I mean, the first step, Lucius, is to just get a list. I mean, you can make you there's no way you can make a decision about what to do until you know what they actually have.
So Lucius, looking at it from your perspective, from a political angle,
Yeah.
What's happening here is the king has, in no uncertain terms, completely breached the privacy and sovereignty of one of the city's guilds, which is an unprecedented act. Even, like, one of the things that Silverwolf was required to do when he took the throne was, for the duration he was the king, he was not allowed to run the city mint. He appointed somebody to do it, somebody from his family, but he himself, at that time, was not allowed to have personal dealings with the guild for exactly that reason. A separation between the city's business and the city's crown. So what you're thinking now is every other guild and magic college and probably the temples of the city are looking at this situation very, very nervously.
Yeah, no kidding.
But in the short term, you do have your marching orders. He wants it all brought under the purview of the crown.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can help you if you want. I don't know how good I'm going to be at it, but can carry things.
For the time being, that may be all I need at the moment. I'll have to see if I need any other assistance.
Okay.
But this is not a comfortable situation that Lucius is in right now.
Are you planning on following the orders and doing it honestly?
Lucius does not want to see this whole Dunfoss thing become, like, he doesn't agree with it. Like, what the king is doing is flat out wrong. What this was is a rogue element. The rogue element has been taken care of, and now he's overreaching.
Okay.
So Lucius is of the opinion that he can't in good conscience do what the king is asking.
So that brings me to the next wrinkle in the situation. Is Journey is already overseeing this task to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that Journey's goal was the suppression of magic in Dunfoss.
Yeah.
If you're looking to hide things from the king or to dispose of potentially dangerous items without his knowledge, Journey would be an ally in that, potentially. Or she could tell you she's an ally and then immediately betray you to the king.
And she doesn't love me to begin with.
Correct.
So,
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how loyal are you going to be remaining to King Tensails as you go through this task?
So here's the thing, Lucius. Is the way like Gus sees the situation, and he'll talk to you about it, and he'll support you with whatever you want to do. But this was a rogue element, but part of the reason this happened was because Telesnisap was so secretive. Like regardless, there needs to be some transparency in a group that has all of that, like the capability to do that. Like, even like your best bet if you want to maintain the sovereignty of Telesnisap, I think at this point, because it's happening with or without you, I think is going to be to get a do your part, and then just sue for transparency and separation, if that makes sense. Like it's kind of a supervisory role where the king knows what Telesnisap has, but it's still Telesnisap's.
So that being said, Lucius, scale of 1 to 10. How loyal are you going to remain to King Tensails as you go about this task?
One.
A 1.
Lucius does not agree with this.
All right. So, Alexander, same question when it comes to the maps.
The only thing Alexander's going to do is make sure there's an extra map for us.
So, we'll say a 9.
Yeah.
So he's asked for 10 copies. And of course,
Yeah,
he's going to insist on having the original, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, Alex will do his best to make one that's... Alex will hand make our copy with the help of magical dancing quills from Fantasia, and it will be as accurate as possible. The rest of the scribes can handle.
But as far as making copies for 10 sales, you're not going to instruct the scribes to ignore details or to change anything. You're going to give them accurate maps. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else in the short term that anybody wants to take care of before we go into downtime?
What happened to the only thing that Gus wanted to do? Oh, not in the short term.
I have one thing I want to do in the short term. Gus, you may care about this.
Okay.
I want to give Caitlin Chubb Stonkmeyer's spellbook because I feel like she's earned it.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go over there. I'll go with you
I feel like we should get back in her good graces a little bit. I feel like this is actually a pretty good thing for her. We could sell it, but we really don't need the money. I think having a diviner who is not angry at us would be much more useful.
Yeah, all right. I can get on board with that.
Also, I need to ask her how much if she won or lost money betting on me.
Wait, when did she bet on you? I don't remember this.
Oh,
During the magical games.
Oh.
During the magical game, she said she was going to bet on me, and that yeah.
So, again, I didn't come up with this name. It was in the book, but his spell book is actually called Stonkmeyer's Spells O' Plenty.
Yep.
Written in Gnomish.
Sure.
She's very suspicious at this gift, because this is a tome of no small amount of knowledge, and there's a lot of engineering formula and such in here that she's not particularly involved in, but she notices the spells and rituals and things. She wants to know what you want in return for this item.
I mean, I feel like we've sort of put a lot of pressure on you over the last year or so. I would just like to be back in your good graces, and I'm sure as the sponsor of our good friend Gus's entry into your guild, he would also like to be.
Yeah, and maybe next time don't, try to blackmail me when I'm in prison.
She's if the
Also, did
condition
you
of
win it?
receiving this book is to stop blackmailing the members of Flumph Inc., I hardly see its value.
Ha! No, it just
And also,
consider-
I have the added aggravation of having to hire an interpreter to transcribe the text from Gnomish. You've given me a lot of work with this gift, she says, as she takes the book and places it under her counter. But she's acting like you've done her no favor whatsoever.
So, did you win?
Well,
Gus asked her, did you win anything in the magical games?
Well, she always wins in the magical game. She's an excellent judge of character.
she's also a diviner.
So you made a gift of the spellbook to Caitlin Chubb. So probably you did buy some...
I am going to redact anything about actual rockets from it, though. I'll just remove those pages.
Fair enough. Well, most of those schematics were on the back.
Yeah,
of
they
the
were
map.
on an effort. Just anything in there. I'm just going to do a quick read over of any of the engineering stuff, and anything that insinuates that rockets can exist will not be in that book anymore.
So he was a wizard, not an artificer. So a lot of this was not stuff of his own design. And in fact, I mean, going through the rocket schematics and things, these are things that he found in bits and pieces all over the place over the course of many, many years. This is not a lot of things that he's invented himself.
I recall a line in the module where you can find a note or something with stonky heart rockets or something. Is that in the spell book?
No,
Oh,
that's ridiculous. All right, anything else we want to take care of just in the short term, over the course of the next day or two before we go into deep downtime?
I want to fuck a bear. No.
Connor has a new life mission.
Good.
Numac has spent the time just meditating in the barge, awaiting your safe return.
Good.
Slightly admonishes Lucius. If he had known he was going into such a dangerous situation, he should have called on his serving man.
I mean, I think Alexander's cavalier attitude towards those sort of things is a bit infectious. I thought we could handle it.
Okay. So we're going to go do some deep downtime, all the stuff in Xanathars that you want to do. I'm going to have very pointed questions about Lucius and his work with Tylistus Apt when we come back.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and take a 15-minute break while you guys think of stuff you want to do in downtime. My groceries should be here in 2 minutes, which is good timing. Let's reconvene at about 5:20.